Okay, welcome back to NRM 3300. Let's get started working with terrain today. So I am going to go to my class folder. I'm going to open up my project folder, and as long as all of these dots are filled in with green, or they have a green circle around the white, then we should be good. All right, so double click on your project file. Okay, so that took me a very long time to load, and what helped was I went online and I just signed into ArcGIS Online. So if you have that issue with loading time, that seemed to work for me. And let me know if that doesn't work for you and you're having issues, okay? So what we're gonna work on today is one of my favorite things, all right? This is what we call in GIS terrain, okay? So maps are obviously flat pieces of paper, okay? In this case, it's going to be a paper map, not a digital one, which we could make three-dimensional. So, but of course, the terrain is the surface of the earth and how it modulates and forms hills and valleys and mountains and canyons. And it is probably, along with weather, the most important geographical factor in a person's life, really. Okay, it really helps define who we are. I mean, obviously your job and your friends and all that, but I'm talking about just your geography, your sense of place. Okay, so I want you to go over to your Texas base. All right, and let me. That's what it was having trouble loading. Okay, so I want you to turn all your layers off, and if you have this exclamation point here, just right click on this layer and choose remove. I think it was because I wasn't signed in online and it was trying to do trying to figure out if I was allowed to use that layer. So what we can do is just roll up our groups, okay, and just turn them off. Okay, now we're going to come over to the portal, all right, and we're going to go over to this living atlas, and you're going to click on the funnel for filter. Okay, and we're going to go to environment, and we are going to choose elevation and bathymetry. Now, I want you to write this down. Bathymetry is the elevation of a water body's floor. Okay, scientists, geologists, when they're gathering data about the terrain on the Earth's surface, they also want to take into account the water bodies, but they don't measure the top of the water. They measure the floor of the lake or the floor of the seabed. Okay, so that is what bathymetry is. All right, so now we're in this fella. All right, and I have terrain right at the top. Now you're going to have a lot of these terrain layers, okay? But it all begins with this beautiful data set right here. Okay, and here what we're going to do is we are actually going to drag this carefully and put it down at the bottom. Okay, and it's going to take a while to load, and once it does, I want you to unclip it, because this is a very important concept. Okay, so these values, okay, so double click on your Texas base, okay, and go to clip layers, and we are going to unclip terrain, okay? Just hit apply. And then hit OK. Okay, now you see your circles, your circle is moving. And this is what the terrain looks like, close up on the Texas source. But I want you to right click on the terrain and choose zoom to layer. Okay, so this is going to depict the terrain across the entire surface of the Earth, okay? And we only have 255 shades. Okay, now it looks like Batman, and that's because we've projected it so that we're centered on the United States. But you're still going to get the point, okay? In fact, let me do this, you don't need to do this, but I want to show you how this works. So just give me a sec. Okay, so here it is unprojected, okay? And we only have 255 shades of gray to work with. And so the software is going to stretch those values across the entire world. Now, the brightest areas, the whiter the pixels are, the higher the elevation is, okay? So you can actually click on this, and this is where Mount Everest is. These are the Himalayan mountains. And this is an enormous data set, okay? Because the pixels, they're not just gonna return, what the value of the gray is, it's also gonna tell you exactly what the elevation is at that spot. Okay, so just by clicking on one pixel, it gives me all of this information about that specific spot on planet Earth, okay? It tells me that it's over 5,000 meters high, okay? That's 5 kilometers, probably close to 3 miles high, okay? The slope is at 1 degree. The aspect, which is the angle at which it's facing towards the sun, is at 165 degrees, okay? It came from this data set, so you get the point. So this is, there's a lot more information in here than just one value of gray, all right? And so that means this is a little bit, I just want you to know it's a 32-bit data set, and that is enormous, okay? This entire data set, if you were gonna download it, it would be in the petabytes, which I don't even know what that is, all right? But what's important here is this, okay? That this software is taking 255 values of gray and stretching them across the Earth to represent our elevation. The bright white areas are the highest elevations. So there's the Himalayas, this is the Andes, there's the Rocky Mountains, okay? And the pitch black are the lowest elevation. Now your sea level is going to be at 0, but this goes down to negative 450 meters, and I believe that's because of Lake Baikal in Russia, which is the deepest freshwater body in the world, is taken into account with this data set, okay? And then 8,700 meters is the tip of Mount Everest. Okay, now let's go back to our Texas base, okay? And you can see we have our pixels, distributed across the world. Now, I want you to double click on the Texas base, and we are going to clip the terrain. So we're going to turn off exclude, and we're going to choose OK, and let that do its thing. All right, and now this layer doesn't even need to be on, but you can right click on the state of Texas and choose zoom to layer, and that'll bring Texas front and center. Okay, well, that doesn't look so great. You know, there's not a lot of definition in here, and the reason why is because it's still taking into account the entire world, okay? So with only 255 pixels to play with, you know, there's not going to be a lot of variation in your AOI, okay? So if I zoom into Texas here, this is kind of what it looks like because we're still using that global database. Now, here is where things get cool, okay? And I want you guys to take a lot of notes here because this is something that you will do continuously when you use GIS. I want you to remember that this is raw, beautiful data, okay? It hasn't been tinted. There's no shadow on it, okay? This is pure elevation data. Okay, now our AOI is Texas. Now, what if we could take all 255 values and just apply them to the state of Texas? Well, you can do that. So I want you to click on terrain, okay? And it's gonna give you this tab to the right of help saying, hey, I'm good at working with this image service layer, okay? And now this is the magic button, okay? And dynamic range adjustment, okay? Dynamic means it can change, and it will change to your AOI. And it'll adjust these values just for that. Okay, so click on this, and let's see, it may take a little bit of time. There we go. Okay, now I see my wheels are spinning. Okay, so boom, now we have those pixel values stretched out for the state of Texas. And it may seem very subtle, but you've got to keep in mind, Texas sits pretty close to the continental divide, and this part near the Gulf is at close. I mean, you're not going to get above 10 meters of elevation in this whole part of the state. Now, this is where Big Bend is, and you're going to see your highest peaks in there, okay? So this is the Llano Estacado. This is where we are, and it's the Cap Rock. You know, when you're driving up here to get into Lubbock, you know, you're going to drive up that high hill to get up to this elevation, and this is called a mesa, by the way. Okay, the other cool thing, and you need to write these numbers down, is that it gives you the new elevation. The highest elevation in Texas is 3,900 and just say 12 meters. And the lowest elevation, no, you know what? Put in the 0.80 because down here I want to put in the 8.4. And that shows your viewers just how accurate you're working. Okay, so use those numbers, and since there's two decimal places here, just put a 0 behind 8. Okay, now hit Control S to save your project, and now we're going to go into the Texas base layout. Okay, and here I want you to turn everything off. Okay, you don't need your name, and you don't need the logo. Okay, so I just want you to have this bare map. All right, now we are gonna go to share, okay? and you are going to export this layout. Now, you don't have all of these, and I'm going to try and figure out, choose this default AIX, okay? And now what we're going to do is we are going to change this to a PDF, and you want this selected, remove layout background, okay? And then you need this selected, output as an image. So it's going to output it as an image, but that image is going to be in a PDF envelope. Okay, now this is important, LZW, that means nothing will be compressed. Okay, we don't have any vector graphics, so we don't need to worry about that. Take this all the way over to best, okay, and then uncheck anything down here that has to do with fonts or export. Okay, now click Control S again, all right, and then go to export. And I'm sorry guys, let me cancel that because everything's gonna stay the same. I needed to tell it where it needs to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go up to this project, open up my folders, okay, and under 10 you have exports, and I just want you to call this Texas terrain. Okay, now this guy might take a while to export, so I want you to be patient, all right? Just let it do its thing. A lot of it's just dependent upon your internet speed, okay? But I'm gonna click export, and then I will see you in the next video.